Okay. My screen.
Oh,
Oh, I had a pen, sorry. Here's.
here, this one's even.
Yeah. Oh, it's my Hey, hi, Gary.
Oh,
Hi, I do still need your paperwork.
I know, I'm sorry, I just got to bring it by tomorrow.
Well, I will be back.
Okay,
And I did payroll today, so I'm gonna another 2 weeks.
okay.
You need a lot of money and something. Fine, I just don't wanna forget it.
Well, good, because I just booked the flight to come back in September.
Look at.
Use it.
Oh, yeah. You make a use of circle them. I'm not gonna try to reach you. Maybe. Let's see. Now it's just eating with what? Right? Hello. Yeah. Right. There it is. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you have? Why did you know? Turn it over. This way. There you go.
So there's 20.
Wow.
Well,
When we first started this. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Good evening, it's time to start. Today is July the 23rd, 2024. It's the work session. Town hall. Public is encouraged to attend, and Zoom link is available by contacting the town. I guess we'll call to order and please have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Present. Here.
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 Mr. Mayor, before we get started,
I would like to request that during this work session, questions and discussion be limited to the Board of Trustees. This is a training session for the board, and there will be plenty of opportunities for the public to offer comments during the comprehensive plan development. And it would be a benefit to the board to be able to discuss this without interruption from the public.
Yeah, it's an informational meeting, and I agree. Thank you. So we'll move to the work session. Comprehensive and 3-mile plan update.
So tonight we have with us, Stan Hoffman and Angie Kemp. They are our, my words. They're our consulting team for our, comp plan and 3-mile plan update. They're here to work with the new board and old boards, bring everybody up to the same speed so we can all move forward with this process. So instead of listening to me talk, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thanks, good evening. As indicated, I'm Stan Fossum Associates. And Angela Kim. My firm was selected to perform the comp plan update. We did meet with the prior board in an informational session. But since the board has changed, we felt, and Melanie thought it would be a good idea to have a similar meeting for a restart. As you know, we held off on progressing the comp plan during the period when there were elections and the board is being seated, so that we could have the benefit of the full board, the full new board, for any activities that would be needed. So we do have PowerPoint that brings us a little bit up to speed, I think, in terms of what has been done, what remains to be done with respect to the comp plan. Please interrupt me while I'm presenting it, but then after that PowerPoint, we'll be happy to answer any questions. And Angie has some additional materials that is provided to the board, which we'll discuss as well.
Okay.
So who we are.
Here and here.
Yeah, okay. So these are our names, and we also have with us, not tonight, but as part of the work, BBC Research and Consulting. And BBC is an econometric firm that we work with on many comp plans and other activities. Kevin Williams rather is the lead, and he has already prepared a memo which we've submitted on population and working characteristics of the town. There will be some other memos that BBC will be preparing as part of the ongoing comp plan. So the timeline today, we kicked off in November, and during December and January, we reviewed the census and state demographer's office data. That was principally done by BC. And then we launched the survey on the 8th of December. And we have the results of the survey. We'll show you some excerpts from it. The survey closed on the 4th of February, and we prepared a memorandum, which we can distribute that shows the results of the survey. During March, from the end of March, really, to the beginning of June, we paused the project for the election of the new Board of Trustees. And that brings us up to this point today, where we will be starting the planning activities. So here is these 1.1, 1.2, and so forth represent actual tasks that were part of our proposal and part of our contract for work to be undertaken. So, that includes an initial kickoff workshop. We did a tour of the community, the tour of some of the adjacent properties, the radio site, and looked at water and sewer issues at that time. And then we developed a schedule, which will now require some modification, and we'll come back to that. So from the standpoint of public and stakeholder engagement, we have proposed a very robust program of engagement, which would involve community events, and the development from those events of the stakeholder boundary statement. And actually, into that statement would also come facilitated focus groups. We have a list here, which we can talk about later, but it's something that we prepared, which suggests some of the key stakeholders. And we would appreciate your looking that over at your leisure and suggesting to us if we capture the correct stakeholders, if there are others that should be included, or some people that don't necessarily need to have a voice here. And in any case, that leads to the stakeholder development statement, which would be an important compendium of what we've learned from the community events and community engagement process. So, review of existing plans and the economic and demographic analysis. We've done most of that. There's still some more analysis, I think, to be done, particularly with respect to trends. And we have reviewed the 2011 plan and other documents that have been prepared with planning. So here are the future needs. We said we would look at housing, transportation, connectivity, economic vitality, hazard mitigation, and resilience, coordination with other jurisdictions, water and land use, recreation and tourism, and energy and sustainability, and then land use. So it's a big list, but it's a list that's typical of any thorough comp plan activity. To that end, we haven't moved forward too much on that. We have the stakeholders list in draft, which I mentioned, and we've also drafted some questions for focus group meetings, which we would be happy to review with you and you comment on as well. So all of this will lead to a task matrix and framework review of the plan, framework being really the table of contents, how the plan is organized, and then revisions as needed. And we have a lot of to do in that. Then we draft a plan. We provide it to you and to the public, and we get responses, and then we make revisions as appropriate, and ultimately it goes through an adoption. And you are the final arbiters of that adoption process to determine what should be in the plan, what should not be in the plan, and making it the final plan for the community. After that, we do something called an implementation strategy, where we look at some of the key activities that are proposed by the plan and who the champions for those activities would be. And we provide that as an implementation strategy. So here are some things from the community survey. We had 152 responses, which was a very good response relative to population. And we've summed up a few things about the demographic constituency of those respondents. 35%, 36 years old of age, and then another group that were 51 to 65. 40% answered that they live within the town limits, and it was available to people who were outside of the town limits. 12% just outside, 24% within 3 miles, and astonishingly, 24% live further than 3 miles away. So people within the valley are within the plateau are obviously very interested in what's being proposed as part of compound activity. So most of the people, 18% have lived here for over 30 years. There's a substantial number of people that have lived here a long time. And you can see graphically represented. Just some other things, work situation. 39% said they mostly work in Colburn. 23% said they mostly commute elsewhere. There's very strong support for open space and parks maintenance, and increased activities for senior citizens, and promotion of intergovernmental agreements and cooperation with jurisdictions. Then we asked about Colburn small town character, because that was a very important concept for the board when we met with them. Is preserving that small town character in the face of development pressures that may occur, and just change what happens. So people like community events. They felt the historic buildings were important. There was something that was a little harder to grasp, called community feel, and that substantial majority voted for that, as well as population size. But it is a small community. So some highlights, emphasis on small town feel, basic living, concerns about safety without a marker, and lack of communication from town officials. Comments gave nod to cowboys, cows, rodeo, winter activities were important, and they wanted to see more for children and seniors. And other comments asked for improvements on roads, the 330s and paved, and sidewalks and free pedestrian and bicycle safety, drainage reports and drainage repairs and bridge improvements. So with that, general overview of where we are. I'll ask Angie to talk about the schedule.
Sure. Well,
And how it has changed and how it might be moving forward. And then we'll turn it over to you for any comments or questions.
well, the detailed schedule isn't something I provided to you all. I gave you the draft framework and then the focus groups, but I could either get them. I actually have it emailed to you. And if you want to pull it up, that's fine, or I can kind of just talk generally about it, but basically, in order for us to move forward, you need to really dive into the focus group list and make sure that we have all of the people at the table that need to be at the table for the different focus group topics. This is a list that I put together. I don't live in your community. I'm not probably the best person to do this, but it took a lot of research, and I have some contact information for folks. If you notice anybody that's missing, please add them to the list, and we will make sure to get in touch with them about setting up focus groups. Those are something that we put on a detailed schedule that I did email from one of them. Let me see. So in order to just keep the project moving forward, we really need more community input. We want to get these on a schedule. We want to make sure that whoever is supposed to be at the meetings is aware of the schedule and the timing. And we want to start planning for a community event. That would be all residents to come together and give feedback on, you know, some of the goals or the visions and value statement that Stan is mentioning. All of that would be super helpful just for this initial phase of the project. Thank you. That's up on the screen now, some of the dates that we suggested. And we will talk with people on this list to make sure we can accommodate them. We did put on there a community input event for going over goals and success measures for the end of August. We kind of wanted to see if you all thought that was realistic based on how far we have to go with the focus group meetings and what needs to go into those goals and success measures. Before we can present them to the public. So that's just for August, and then we have the whole span of community events in this calendar. Proposed dates aligning with each thing that we need to do with the community, but we're open to your suggestions on some of that. Does anybody think that it's not realistic to have a community input event at the end of August where we actually like synthesize what we learned in the focus group meetings and present that to the public? So it's not going to be a draft plan by any means at that point, but it'll kind of show you the direction that the plan would be going.
And I would just add that the plan, we've come to this planning activity with no preconceived notions that the program should be more developed or resist all development or any preconception. And it really is going to be what we hear from you, what we hear from the public, that is synthesized, brought together in this activity, and will ultimately result in the plan. It's good that the community will have a plan.
On August 13th, you've got a focus group meeting scheduled with one time slot. Is that part of our community event? Or is that just specifically with some specific people?
All of the focus group meetings would be with specific people discussing a certain topic. So this document covers a little bit of our discussion prompts that we want to bring up, some of the people that we thought could be helpful to the discussion. And it also even has sort of the direction, facilitation portion, where we'd actually keep track of like the number of attendees for each of the meetings. We'd write some summary pages based on all the information we get. And eventually those would all be added to a community input events memorandum. So we would kind of boil everything down to create the vision and value statement that would kind of permeate through the plan. But if you want more detail, then it would be an appendix to the plan where you can read like what went on in those focus groups, what questions were asked, and what's the responses were in a summary sort of.
So the focus then for the community input event is gonna be kind of bringing what we discussed within all those focus groups and then start sharing that out to the public so then they can give us feedback on what we saw the vision as, and then they could add if we missed something. And then keep it okay.
Okay. So I don't see that you have, I think listed. You don't want them listed?
Oh, no, please add them to the list, that'd be great, yeah. Whichever focus group topic area you think would be appropriate.
I don't know, I see a lot of people listed and not have them, they're a huge part of our community. So.
We did our best to identify what seemed to be
Right.
good people. For
We also need to local providers and, you know, provide internet, a lead and.
So
And just we basically, extended the timeline for the entire project of 2 weeks. And so we think that, we could bring this to conclusion for adoption in November this year. So that would be the ideal scenario. That fits with your plans, that you don't have any major changes.
You're looking for community events at the end of August? The third, this is the proposed schedule, so this hasn't been, posted online, we haven't talked to the focus group people, we're kind of waiting for your direction on who those people need to be. But if you wanna tie that into our barbecue, our town barbecue, maybe possibly.
I don't think that would be too soon.
We wouldn't have any information to share with them, that's what these focus groups are for, and so I think
Right, they're ending,
that's what we,
it's talking about a thing at the end of August.
Right. and that's, yeah,
The town barbecue is on the 13th.
Can it not get bumped?
well, that's the day,
It hasn't been on.
not yet, but isn't that, that's the connection with that specific day in August, so if we push it too far, I think we'll lose that connection to the,
I don't think anybody knows about that day. It could be a good opportunity to advertise a community event that would happen, in the next week or something that we can have. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna come unless it's involved, which is sure why it's nice to tie to that barbecue, which would be nice to bump back to the end of it.
I'm kind of thinking that it would be hard to have an outdoor barbecue and a community input event, an outdoor community input event at the same time. I think that,
Focus on.
yeah, I think they're gonna focus on the fun part of the barbecue. And I don't think that people are gonna try and come in and focus on the community input that we're looking for the comprehensive plan.
more focused audience to get input from them.
I think we certainly can advertise that we're going to have whatever the date is at the barbecue, but I think that having them separate so that we can get more focused information from the participants would be a better idea.
I think we would get more information, more participation. They were
Typically, we would present a PowerPoint, which talk about plan, what goes into a plan, what kinds of things need to be considered in developing a community plan. And then some specifics that came from the focus group activities, some specific issues that people would react to. And that would all be brought to them in PowerPoint situation. So we would need a venue where we could do that. And then we would encourage some open-ended discussion and possibly some polling for different approaches, objectives, things of that sort.
And I've been at community events, outside events and indoor events. And it's really hard to hear at an outside event and not being able to get all the same information and being able to concentrate on what's being presented. I just think it would be better to have a separate.
A barbecue would be an ideal place to provide some initial publicity, maybe a handout.
what's coming.
Yeah. That would attempt to generate interest.
And how many of these input events are you projecting? One for every couple months?
On the calendar, I think I have 2 big, community input events, one's later when there's actually the draft.
Okay.
But the draft also needs to be referred for feedback, and I don't know exactly the process for length or, that could be, extended however long you think would be appropriate. For everybody to review, but that's not really, we wouldn't present the entire plan to the community because that's just too much. But the entire plan would be available for them to review and send comments.
The planning should be, I think, we should take a look at the activity list for the school, upcoming volleyball games, and right now in season volleyball and basketball, so that we don't overlap that, because then you only have one to return on.
Sure, thank you, that's helpful.
And we need to just make sure lots of advertisement goes out in the paper on the two websites that we can operate, or Facebook pages and. Cause a lot of people just don't know about community events in our community.
As part of the water feasibility studies, and is that gonna include what irrigation, water rights, trail path, and stuff? You know, the park. Possible irrigation, the future subdivisions, that type of thing.
It can be discussed
I'd like to-
for that committee.
I'd like to see that.
I could bet, yeah, and whoever's on that water committee, that could be a topic that was brought up, and, you know, having those key players or stakeholders there. I think, you know, looking through all of these different focus groups, you know, we had initially broken them up with the prior board, but looking at which ones, you know, you have that part of passion for to sit on and flesh some of that stuff out to incorporate into the plan is gonna be critical.
A contact or people that you think should be on the water topic. On this group. Please let me know. Add to the list.
I would think, you know, the people that are doing the water studies, their work in regards to the water rights that you have. For water, for irrigation, sure, you know, or that type of thing. I know right now with irrigate and or.
Who's doing the study?
Our engineer.
Okay. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you.
I think on the housing, we should probably include. Huey Highland, Bert Dole,
Are these realtors?
these are realtors, yeah.
Yeah,
Amber Feller, I think Amber's the first name, and maybe Angie Taylor. Those are all realtors in this local.
If,
I don't have any contacts with
Okay.
these names.
I can look them up.
Amber Feller just recently posted something on Facebook asking about, housing and affordable housings.
It works for Julie.
Julie, Amber, Angie, and the.
Bert Dole.
Thank you.
Then we have to name it.
that would be good, engineering, that would give some good local input.
I imagine all the realtors kind of know each other, so if I get in touch with one, they can help you find others, great.
And under hazard mitigation and resilience, we should include Plateau Valley Fire Protection District.
So the other document that I had out for you is the draft framework. And it covers all of these topics, again, that are in the stakeholders list. But it has been, you know, for the town and then all for the three about keeping in mind both of those. If you have any problem on one, again, you can write them or send me an email.
What do you mean when you call it a 3 mile area?
3 mile area is like kind of the area of influence around the town, so it is actually
Literal.
a literal 3 miles for really the town. Yeah. So, anything that's written out in the 3 mile area plan is kind of like a it's giving the town some guidance on like. What would be appropriate in that area and what would not be appropriate. If another jurisdiction.
from the county also.
Right.
Under, on the energy focus group, are you looking only at energy, to provide energy services to the residents, or are you looking at things like, oil and gas drilling?
That's kind of a state issue more than a local thing, so I mean, we would have those conversations, of course, we're happy to have those, but. As far as like. I don't know, staying.
Energy in this particular case intended to be the provision of
The
electric services and utilities. And how, whether that is something that's an area that is an area of concern. Or it's not an area of concern, but at least to know. And also, 3 mile plan, it can identify. It's not a full-on safety plan by any means, but it can identify areas that might represent extensions of utility. If there would be extensions of utility to areas because they have development potential that would be beneficial.
Yeah. And I just, if it was including oil and gas development, I put somebody else to add, but since it doesn't, I don't know anybody else to add.
There could go the highway ranch and arbitrary tracks, and how it may or may not affect the watershed for the town. That was within the 3 mile radius. They built a new subdivision up here. With the highway ranch and homes. And then right now, proposal of possibly developing some housing on the north side of the park. So lots there and some locates where the other churches go to Spring Street, there's a cul-de-sac and there's some locates right there. And yeah.
And that's.
Or got the parcel we have, he owns not 7 acres. He's said something about talking to architects and developers. Up to that point, there was the water and sewer act. On the property, there's power, there's gas line there. There's also a big water line.
Well, typically, plan would indicate areas that are being suitable for potential development, and areas that are not suitable, and should be conservation areas for one reason or another. We have some restrictions on them from the development standpoint. So that's one area. The other area that mentioned the oil and gas, as Dan indicated, that's largely state regulation, but on the other hand, if that is a matter of concern, we can certainly look into that in some way.
Right now, I think the biggest concern is protection of our watershed, because they do drill with it, close to our watershed, and highway or transportation impacts, because they do have heavy equipment on our roads. But other than that, I didn't think I don't think there's any concern. I think if you're looking for, the first place to look for a farmer and rancher network might be the cattle women, Platte Valley Cattle Women. There really isn't a rancher's part of it, but they are very clued in, and they may be able to give you names of potential participants.
That's very helpful.
And for recreation and tourism, you've got a website for Heritage Days Rodeo. Probably the contact person there would be Chandler Clark.
Has things that they're thinking of for this later. And wants to turn them into Melanie here at Town Hall, that'd be really helpful, and then she can send them my.
I do have a question on the energy, when you have solar, COSSA, what is that organization?
COSA is a solar organization, I can't remember, Colorado. Solar or something. They do like a lot of solar education on a Western Slope and talk with communities. I worked for Delta County as a planning there, and they actually came into the office and offered education on utility scale solar, because Delta had to deal with some of that. But they also encourage individuals adding solar to their homes and properties resilience. And they're just an interesting organization that work out here. They did an event in Rifle that I went to that was really yeah.
Do you know if they do any commercial solar farming or?
They don't actually like supply panels or anything like that. It's more about spreading education about what solar can do for individuals, for communities, for energy companies, like as far as like utility scale solar goes. And they take a lot of time to study how different communities have reacted to big changes in the solar kind of realm, and kind of have distilled that into some best practices. So they're more educational than applying for things.
So have you ever contacted, I mean, in some of these groups, some of the, like they say, some of the companies in Jonathan, like Atlanta, that provide solar cell, meaning would that be something that, you know, that might benefit some of these groups in terms, I mean, these are all, you know, Grand Valley Power, I'm sure not really wild about the solar, people it takes their business, but I think it's wise to, you know, get some information from those that provide solar cell, you know, installation and, you know, to kind of bring the public up to speed with the alternatives, because this is a great location for solar exposure, and so maybe at last, I mean, I don't know how many are Junction 2 and 3 that are selling solar panels, you know what I'm saying? That might be something to think. We can certainly look into that.
Yeah.
And under water and environmental preservation, you probably should add culvert conservation district.
Yeah. Does anybody have a contact or groups?
I don't know who is running it right now.
I can. Great, thank you so much. Do we want to look at the framework a little bit and kind of discuss that? So think of it as a table of contents, definitely things can move around, and it's very possible that some of these topic areas might kind of bleed into each other, which is fine. But just in general, I guess we're kind of wondering if this is capturing what you're hoping, and if you like what's in the appendices, because it's more like the technical stuff, a lot more detail. Any thoughts about that?
I know in larger communities, health and medical facilities are usually a big deal and would be commented on. You know, we're a small community. And Jessica very rightfully brought up our clinic. Is that something that we think should be in the comprehensive plan, in our comprehensive plan? Asking the rest of the board.
Well, I think we did have put it in there in the original conversations. And I was trying to remember where we put it, I'm thinking it's in this first economic vitality section, that's really the only way I see it fitting. Because the vet clinic is listed in there,
And
but they are a key component. I think they definitely need to be had.
and they are, it is a key component for livability of our.
For just community vitality.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And I don't know if it matters, but environmentally or whatever, every year, I don't know if everybody's noticed, we're there, the sandhill trains been coming through and they land behind their house, they're quite, because we live in a hole, you can hear it throughout the whole town. But I don't know if either one of them are protected species. I think one of them is, but I don't know.
I don't have an answer to that, but we can.
I know people know some of the cases live in the Hutchins area. People are upset. Whenever they come to Freeland Reservoir and everybody's out there watching them. Plus birds.
And they can spend a lot of time in that's up in the willows.
That's pretty cool.
They can be something, whatever. Insects they can eat.
Right.
If you drive up straight up Spring Street and go into the cul-de-sac, you'll see that. At the end of the cul-de-sac, you'll see some calling, that's they're setting there. Or potentially grow, and then right next to it, to the right. That 13 acres that you spent put up for sale. There's a yellow house there. And there's 13 acres. Sitting right there, at one point, a previous owner had started a development process, and so it was 25 foot each, but I believe. West side, going to the back, to the top of the property. And there was that's why that's where it is. And it's for
With respect to, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, under local champions, I noticed that, well, we don't anywhere have like the American Legion or the Lions Club. I guess they'd be local champions.
So.
Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I was just gonna say, with respect to, development, there are two things that the plan can do, and that's to help identify areas where potential development is suitable, as I said before, and not suitable, and also to identify improvements in the process development that could be implemented. So that the community feels that any proposed development is getting the proper level.
down by Valley Ranch. Right next to it, there's a home there where they have what they should call it, they had talked about developing that industry as well. For future development.
you give advice on, we definitely need to annex in for future developments, so that we make that extra money off that. Do you typically give advice on that, or
Well,
if,
that would be part of, plan, would show areas that would be recommended for potential annexation. And then also, the question comes up, well, if it's recommended for annexation, is it also recommended for utility extension? And how does that fit in capacity that is currently available for water and sanitary? So, yes.
Yeah, both of these, the water and sewer have been brought up. When those two properties were developed in the first place, the water and sewer were extended up Spread Street to the end of that cul-de-sac, so it does go to. Where the most streets. Down, behind Amherst and Valley Ranch, I know there's power. But I don't know if there's anything else.
I don't see that you have our little gas station on there. Do you?
Valley
I
Ranch.
saw.
It's actually Valley Ranch. That supply is the name of it.
Next to Napa.
Exxon is Valley Ranch.
Oh, Exxon and Valley Ranch.
Yeah, we just need to rename that,
Yeah, that's good.
because that's actually.
And there's actually on the other side of that is that pickle restaurant. That's from for listing other business, they never go listing on.
Yeah.
Or are you needing, you wanna know, until this last page. Members of the board that you want be on those committees, on those focus groups?
You
Is
know,
that what that is, or?
I think it would be really helpful if. Are you saying? You guys,
I mean, if,
or,
I guess my question is, I would assume you would want at least one board member at each of these
I think
focus
it would be
groups,
really helpful.
in addition to
I mean,
key players.
Definitely. I mean, better, I can drop them, so. Generally, that's really helpful. to have. So. More involved in those focus group conversations. And just another person that's hearing the same things I'm hearing, and hopefully we can run it together and make sure we capture everything. It's not crucial, but it is very helpful. So if there's a certain topic that speaks to you, or you think you could give input on, or help facilitate the discussion around, let me know.
These would not necessarily be noticed open meetings, so, we do have to make sure that we're,
I'd be interested in the economic vitality group, would be interested in that.
I would pretty much have to look at the calendar. And I'd be willing, not somewhere else, I'll be available at any time for anyone. I'm retired
And Zoom is probably gonna be the easiest way to get, you know, a group of people to speak.
I'll backtrack just a little bit, but I didn't see any of the churches here. You not ever consult some of the pastors of the churches, or, I mean, cause they do it.
They're great for outreach and getting people to get involved in something like this, so that's a good suggestion, but, I guess I don't know what
yeah.
area.
We don't really deal with religion as a concept subject. So, but insofar as we're interested in participating in something that relates to, for example, the clinic, and because they may have knowledge about people who are well served or underserved by their animals. Because they care about things.
So like I said, when you haven't established a calendar yet, I mean, it's just kind of, you're not gonna. Are you gonna do all of these in August? Is that what your goal is?
The goal would be to accomplish this
Okay,
substantial portion of this. I don't know what would be left over, but we would try to do that in August. Yes.
well, I know I'll be here on the second, I'll be glad to participate when I be here on the seventh.
I can do the land use and growth consideration.
All right, you know the date. No, you have a suggestion, no.
Those are the suggested dates for us. We can look at timing more closely, once we get in touch with some more people. But if there's a certain day of the week that's under which to do that. Okay.
I would be interested in housing. Great, and since there's more than 5 topics. I could also, do hazard mitigation.
Okay.
I'd be interested in water at this time, much of the theater in August, too, we're supposed to be gone with it. It's about July, family, or 4 months, so.
Anything, yeah, anything more meetings, possibly work here for that meeting?
I'll have to see what family has there.
Sure,
Very interested.
okay. Thank you.
And I could do transportation. I think that's not worth it. And this is energy. And recreation.
That would have to start
Jessica, did you have those energy and recreation, one of those, either of those two? The major.
That's fine, and it's okay, you know. If we're not covering all of them. They'll be summarized and you'll all get to read about how the focus groups went. And so.
Hazard mitigation and housing. No, hazard mitigation and housing. And the range of transportation.
Okay, well. Part of this was just to see the level of interest on the part of the board. And we sense a good interest. So that's excellent. And we'll be refining this list and moving forward on that. And working to schedule things.
That a good comprehensive plan will help us to continue to do the things we've been doing in town. And being able to get grants to help us do those projects.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's really important for the board to be engaged.
There's another aspect too, and that is your land use code. So really, the comprehensive plan recommendations could precede changes to the land use code. That's typically the way it works. And so to the extent that you feel that this is, I think, an important area for us to work with you on, because while we're not doing code revisions, we're clearly looking to see what portions of land use code you may feel don't address the things that are happening or likely to happen in the community. And make recommendations for code improvements and updates. And it should occur. The actual code changes would be follow-on activity. But those recommendations become really important in determining what changes might take place in management.
I see here, yeah, they've hardware, they also have the rainbow trade departments right now, they're next to their job.
So would it,
3 mile.
so would it be the same contact as Faith? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it would be the same contact, they're not in the city, that's, they're.
Oh, that's, yeah, the 3 mile area. Good, thank you.
And our own city law.
Moving on to you all. Making sure. What?
Questions?
It's been really helpful.
Yeah, right.
Give us, maybe to get launched. Thank you.
And we, the survey you referred to, we have copies of that?
I have a copy of the memo that I wrote that kind of summarizes it, so it's not the exhaustive list of answers, because that was a little. I was like, I don't know, so many pages. This is a good summary. But those are available if you need. Full responses and all that.
How do you guys handle when there's not enough jobs and people are trying to bring on housing or say low income housing and they wouldn't be able to afford community junction activity?
The remote workspace is wide open, that's definitely a thing, but I did add a couple people to the list of contacts. That might have some input about that, like the Grand Mesa Business Guild, would be a good one to talk to you about that. Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't know, you don't know, maybe we're kind of waiting to see what the community says about those topic areas. And where where the concerns are.
A lot of that'll be left out in focus groups. We'll get more information.
More detail. That's good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So everybody has their charges on like. If you have a contact person that I should get in touch with for a certain topic area. You'll either write it on this list and turn it into Melanie, or you can email me. Does everybody have my info? Is it on paperwork you gave us? It's not on the paperwork I gave you. It's just Angela. At SCA planning.com. SCA for Stan Foster Associates.
I can guess that's.
Oh, okay. I guess I haven't heard. And it would be really super helpful to get those within the next week.
Okay.
It won't be much help for me beyond that, but I'm sure as we like start talking to people and contacting people, our list will grow.
So is our feasibility report for our engineer gonna be ready for you in a timely manner?
It's supposed to be done by the end of August.
Okay, that's really helpful to know. End of August.
the capacity study.
We'll be the mountains, the
That allows them.
But these, focus groups, they're not just limited to the people under that particular heading, are they? I mean, if people in general want to attend it, you got, is that what is possible?
Well, what we're trying to
But they're
do
not
is,
supposed.
yeah.
That's the input event, the input
Well,
event.
you think that they were,
Excluded or something like that, yeah. We're gonna be able to take public comment throughout this entire process, so if at any point you hear somebody say that they don't feel like they're heard. They can have my email address, you're welcome to get that.
yeah, but I think the intent of the focus group is to gather some key individuals who are in that sector, who are knowledgeable about those issues. And not have it read out too much. And really rely on other activities to have general comments and the whole public being aware of where we're going and making comments on that. So I think the focus groups are really intended to be limited to
just in case, we try to keep it narrowed down to
Yeah.
that particular.
I think if we do that advertising for these input events and say, promote those times and say, this is when. You know, we're welcoming public comment, and we want you to hear the plan and give us ideas, and if they're aware that that's coming, and. To me, having more tuned in information is gonna be more valuable to the public. Knowing where we're choosing to head, and then if they can bring in those points that we might have missed. But that's starting, I think, is critical.
Okay, I was gonna say, on the timing of the first community event, is a Friday the best day to do that?
I think the
6 of, okay,
You tell us.
Yeah.
If you think there's something.
Yeah, it's not.
People in August are taking off on the weekends, and their day is a better day.
Or by state.
for me personally, earlier in the week, not Thursday, because usually on Thursday evenings I'm not available. But,
Yes, because
So people leave for the weekend, that's maybe information.
yeah, because here we have 4-day week, school days. 4 days.
Let's see,
And there may or may not be football games.
Will you be doing any more surveys after you collect more information?
We hadn't done it, and we thought that the survey was pretty comprehensive in terms of. We may do some polling into the community. But not a general survey, again, I think. There would be some survey.
Well, one of the feedbacks I get as a board member all the time is that they're not doing good. And there's not enough transparency, so I just really want the community to be involved and hear from everything that's going on. And it's very important to me that their voices, they feel like their voices are being heard.
I couldn't agree more, and we certainly want to ensure that that's true. On dates, are we thinking that Wednesday the 21st would be a better day?
Probably.
And that doesn't, just because these are proposed dates, doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the 19th and the 20th, that there will be a focus group meeting, so maybe people would be willing to do those earlier. So that we would have a chance.
let me just add, the 21st is a school board meeting, and there's pretty good attendance at the school board meeting, so I think we lose.
So maybe the following, like Monday, or Tuesday. Lower in the, lower bit.
Tuesday the 27th.
I think that would be a good time.
So we just need to look at the schedule for the school.
Yes.
Things and make sure. we're not making- Right. So 26 or 27.
Maybe the 27th or 28th, maybe.
Tuesday.
Okay, 26.
What hours people most available. Evening, but
And if people work in Junction, they generally do not get home before 6 o'clock.
6.
Yeah, it's a 45-minute drive.
Mhm. So maybe we look for 6 to 8 p.m.
Find that time window within.
And another thing that we found is helpful is serving food.
Yes,
So I don't know exactly what that would entail, but if we could have some snacks of some sort, that would be,
Would you expect a big turnout that we should get the first building rented or?
the auditorium.
I would suggest, possibly the fire.
I'd like to have a venue where
They have a meeting.
Because we need the PowerPoint stuff, so that would be ideal.
it's helpful not to just have fixed seating so that you kind of a talking head to
Yeah.
a group of people, but rather they could go around, look at different panels of boards that we'd be preparing, and it becomes a little bit looser that way.
I think you could do that with the meeting room fire hall. They've got, they have tables and chairs and you can set them up however you
Great.
set them up. That would be nice. Bigger.
Uh-huh.
And there again, it's another kind of community, more of a community building than one of the churches.
Yeah.
Yes, the church is, but
Have a better part of it.
yeah,
And then, of course, we would hope that all of you can spread the word once these get, you know, a date set to them and you start advertising them. It's helpful to have as many people kind of pushing the message.
So when you do the presentation, do you have your own equipment and everything, or do you require? How many could we rent in the firehouse? Do they have the screen?
We'll call them and ask all.
they have a screen. I don't think that they have a projector, but well, maybe they do have a projector, but I don't know if they allow you, they have people use it.
I know the library used it for their presentation and they, so I don't know.
Well,
where
I know the library has. There
they
are,
have access.
and we've got the town has projector.
We don't want to have those details.
Those are options. And if the fire hall's not available, there is the dining room for the congregational church that it can be available. And they have a screen.
We have a-
Okay. Good. And I'm very much aware of your comment. That people need to feel engaged and heard.
Thank you.
We'll do everything we can to ensure that.
Okay. Trustee informational under items for future agenda.
Anything this time?
I have some items for you if we'll take one and pass it down. This is your information for next week's meeting, and some background.
Okay.
motion for adjournment.
We don't. Need to. This is the works.
Alright.
Sweet. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to get the refresh.
Great to see you all. Great to meet you, your folks.
Yeah. Get started again.
It's just about the virus, that's all they do. Yeah, somebody